A slog of some of the dumbest, just throwing drama.
Gonna be betrayal, there's gonna be some drama. No 5-star reads.
This!
Oh, 2 huge, shocking twists you are not gonna see coming. Why?
To go with it.
She should have known it the whole time.
You gotta come around the fence.
Happy August, everybody. Welcome back to another one of those videos where we talk about what I read at the end of the month and what I plan on reading for the next month. And Lemon Poppy Seed is going to be helping us again, of course. I couldn't leave her out after what happened last month. I mean, she was just so good at picking out books that I had to include her. So at the beginning of July, I had this super exhaustive TBR list that I wanted to read for the month, and I was quite proud of myself. I was quite successful. I did have a couple of TBR leftovers. That was Light Lark, The Reimagining of Thornwood House, Bookshop Below, and The Unicorn Hunters. Now, I did start The Unicorn Hunters. I made it all the way to chapter 4. The problem being is it is a very slow, methodical start. And that's very Catherine Arden. It reads very familiar of The Bear and the Nightingale. And so I wanted something more fast-paced and something a little bit more. So I didn't make it through The Unicorn Hunters, but I did get into it. And I'm going to continue it. I just don't know when. So let's talk about the books that I did finish for the month of July. It is an exhaustive list. This is the most that I have read in 1 month all year long. And it's probably the most that I'm going to read all year long because let's be honest, work is starting back now. I don't just get to sit around my house anymore. I have to go to work. Anyone want to take a guess how many books I got this month? Put a guess down in the comments. And the answer is 16 books. I don't know how I did it. I don't know how my eyes aren't melting out of my skull. But yes, 16 books. Let's talk about them. So let's start with the lowest of the low, and then we'll get better and better and better. Whispers of Ink and Starlight. I listened to this as an audiobook. It is available on Kindle Unlimited, and you get the audiobook on Audible when you download it on Kindle Unlimited. So originally I was just going to read it on my Kindle because the plot sounded interesting. There's a young woman who is trapped in her home with her father who seems not okay, like there's something off about him. And she kind of asks permission to go to this 4th of July picnic situation. Meets this guy who is a aspiring journalist / novelist, like instantly falls for him and wants to continue to see him, but dad doesn't want any of that. So they start kind of sneaking around, but there's something really weird going on. Like, from like chapter 1, something odd is going on with this woman. There's more than just this dad is not okay. And he's clearly like keeping his daughter prisoner in their house, and like there's so much more going on. And so for the first couple of chapters, I was interested in what was happening because I wanted to know what was the deal. What's the magical thing that's happening in this book? The rest of the book, once you figure that out, the rest of the book is just a slog of just the rest of the book is a slog of some of the dumbest events, dialogue, character development I hated it. And by the time I decided I hated it, I was so far the way through that I was like, I have to see how this ends. Like, now I'm just listening to continue to hate it. I need to know what happens at the end of this book because this is so ridiculous. And I got to the end. I still hated it. Yeah. It was a duo narrated audiobook. The chapters switch points of view between the male main character and the female main character. The male main character narrator was pretty decent. The female narrator, I couldn't handle it. I could not handle her voice. It was very breathy and almost childlike, which didn't really, the way that she spoke just didn't relate to the character that she was reading for. I couldn't stand it. It was a two-star read for me. It was an original idea poorly executed, unfortunately. Another two-star read for me this month was Ship of Spells. I was so excited about this book. Look at this cover. I mean, oh my gosh, it is stunning. Gorgeous cover. Inside flap says, a war-scarred mage, a sentient ship, a secret that could drown empires. When Ensign Blue Mage Honor Wren is rescued from the wreckage of her first naval post, she expects death or disgrace. Instead, she awakes aboard the Touchstone, a mythic vessel whispered of in dockside ballads and royal war rooms alike. With a crew of misfits, a mysterious elven captain, and a mission tied to the Dreadwall, the crumbling barrier that has kept the Overland and Nethersea from open war for 100 years. But the tragedy that sank her last ship didn't just take lives, it left something behind. Now Wren carries a secret everyone wants. This should have been the pirate read that I have been waiting for, and it was a total flop. The world was fascinating. The magic system was interesting. The characters were horrible. Oh my gosh. Again, stupid dialogue, characters that just went nowhere. Didn't I just there was so much that could have been. There was so much that could have been here. And it was like all that mattered was the romance and the spice. So building out the world and making it what it could have been was just put on the back burner. I mean, this, if you had really built out this world, this gorgeous world on this map here, if you had really developed the magic system and the history here and explained all of this stuff instead of just constantly just throwing drama at the character so that they could look longingly at each other and pine away for each other across the pirate ship and blah blah blah. You could have had one of those giant chunky fantasy novels that people would have just devoured and then been heartbroken over. This had an insane cliffhanger. Am I going to read the second book? I am absolutely not, because it made me so mad that this wasn't the epic pirate fantasy that the blurb promised me it would be. Now, maybe this is one of those books where the second book is going to absolutely blow me away, but I'm not willing to take that risk because this was such a disappointment. This was on my July TBR, so I checked this one off. But yeah, 2 stars. Now we're moving up into the 3 stars with the Someday Garden. I rated this 3.5 stars. This was on my July TBR, and this is one of the books on my Hercid or hardest reading challenge ever. One of my reading prompts. This is an Ashley Poston novel. She is known for her whimsical fantasy romances. For me, this one was not as great as a novel love story. I didn't I loved the setting. The setting was perfection. The Lilymore house is everything you want in a summer garden romance setting. It's the perfect setting, and it's why I kept reading, because I really loved that the main character was the head gardener of this huge estate. It's not an occupation that I read often, so I was really excited about that as a plant person. I thought that was very cute. The main character is struggling with grief over the death of a best friend, which is right at the beginning of the book. It's not a spoiler. It's right at the beginning of the book, um, and so she takes this job at the Lilymore house and is struggling through that grief while preparing for this. There's like a major, it's like the bicentennial celebration or something. There's some big giant event at the end of the summer that she's preparing the gardens for. And then she has to make a decision about her future. What is she going to do next after this bicentennial celebration? The cast of characters was really great, but there was something about the romance that just lacked the magic that Ashley Poston usually has. I feel like the garden sucked up all the magic, and it didn't leave the romance any. I wasn't interested in the romance. I just wanted to walk around the garden some more. So for me, it was a 3.5. The ending was worth it, though. It did get me. I was choking back some tears at the end, and I was like, no, you did not. This whole time I've kind of just been da, 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 just trying to get this done, and then the end got me. I'm like, really? Man. Let's continue with Ashley Poston with The Dead Romantics. This is Ashley Poston's claim to fame, the kind of what she's known for. This was her first novel, I think.
This novel also deals with grief. Like I said before, this is a very common motif in Ashley Poston novels, except this is the death of a father. Florence Day is a ghostwriter, pun intended, and she can actually speak to ghosts. So when her father dies unexpectedly, she goes down to South Carolina to her hometown to help her family and cope with the grief of her father, as well as helping a ghost who has followed her from New York with saying goodbye. It's very, very cute. It did get me in the end. There were some laugh out loud parts to it. The romance was very cute, and it was 3.5 stars for me. Also in the 3+ star range, we had Metal Slinger. Oh boy. So this is a very controversial novel. People either loved it or they hated it. And here's the main reason why. It's extremely difficult to do first person narration with a plot twist successfully. Extremely difficult to do that successfully. I believe that Metal Slinger did not do it successfully. I believe Metal Slinger, it felt disingenuous. The female main character who is narrating the entire novel to us, there was no reason the plot twist that she would have known the whole time should have been a plot twist. Because, again, she should have known it the whole time. So I can see why people were super upset with Metal Slinger. I don't think I'm going to pick up the second novel, Light Wielder, just because I was so angry with the twist. It just wasn't well done. And honestly, the last half of the book for me kind of flopped anyway. So if I do pick up the second book, which just came out, I won't be rushing to go pick it up. And if I do, it would have to be like on Kindle Unlimited. Like I'm not paying for it, because yeah, it just wasn't. You didn't do it right. I'm sorry. Who does do it right? If you want to see first person narration with twists about the characters themselves, do really well. I mean, flawlessly. Read The Poisoned Daughter. I believe it's being traditionally published. Book of the Month just picked it for their August selection, one of their August selections. And they're having a Book of the Month exclusive publishing of that book. It is a standalone fantasy involving kind of vampire-like creatures. I don't know that they actually use the term vampires. I think they do. And there are werewolves as well. Where there is a kingdom and then kind of a standalone village situation that's part of that kingdom, but they're separated. Two powerful families involved don't get along, and they are marrying their children to each other to form an alliance with the understanding there's going to be betrayal and there's going to be some drama. Extremely well-written universe, interesting magic system, fascinating mythology involved in all of this, really extremely well done, and two huge shocking twists you are not going to see coming, even though the chapters go back and forth between the female main character and the male main character providing first-person narration. The twists are done flawlessly, and you are not sitting there not feeling gypped or lied to the entire book. You completely buy into it and you do not see it coming. I pride myself on trying to figure out the twist or trying to figure out whatever the secret thing is before I'm told. I was screaming at my Kindle. I mean, screaming at my Kindle because it was so well done and I did not see it coming. Oh, it was good. It was so good. Poisoned Daughter. So I finished that this month as well. That was 4 stars for me. And I can't stop recommending it. Going back to the 3-star reads, we also have summer reading. This for me was a 3.75 stars. Really cute summer romance, perfect setting, really adorable. The female main character has dyslexia. And the book is written in dyslexia-friendly font, which was a really cool idea. The author wrote about it at the very beginning of the novel, that this was super important to her and that she did that for a reason in order to be inclusive, which was great. We also have this novel that I am so tired of pronouncing, and I'm not going to say again. This was 3.5 stars for me. Lemon Poppy Seed picked this out for me last month that I had to read it for the month of July. It was in the middle of the road. It was interesting. I really enjoyed the plot up to a certain point, and then eventually the romance just kind of took over the plot and just kind of muddled everything, and I was just like, meh. Okay. I just got kind of the romance, the decisions involved in the romance just kind of got dumb. It was too much. I didn't have a problem with the romance. I didn't have a problem with how the romance was written or who was involved. I just thought it was just taking over the plot too much. Because I wanted to go back. There is delicious description of the world and what's going on here. And there's a lot of commentary on controlling government and what happens when someone has too much power and what happens to your mentality when you take on all of that. It had a lot to say, but because the romance started to take center stage in order to make it, I don't know, in order to sell it, it lost its way in the middle and towards the end. I did enjoy the ending though. I liked how it ended. Also 3.5 stars is this thing right here. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I am obsessed with the cover of this book. And I said back at the beginning of July that it is too pretty not to read immediately. And so I immediately put it on my TBR and I said I had to read this. And I sat down and I dove into it. Why? like Ship of Spells, this could have been so much more. The world, the plot, the storyline was excellent. Very much invested in what's going on in this universe. The writing, though, left a lot to be desired, to the point that I had to Google, is Nobody's Quest a YA novel? Because that's what it read like. It read like the Shatter Me series. It read like The Powerless by Lauren Roberts. It read like Tiger's Quest saga. It read like Twilight. It had that very everything has to be spelled out for the reader, extra sentences that should not be in there because you as an adult reader should understand that that's what's going on. Like it was so redundant, repetitive, in your face, very YA. And I love a good YA novel. But when I pick up an adult novel, I want it to read like an adult novel. And then a chapter or two later, after I had to Google, is this a YA novel? Is this young adult? And was told, no, it's not. I read that the main character, Solly, is 17. Why are we making these decisions? What is it that, why are we writing an adult epic romantasy book for adult readers with an underage main character who participates in explicit romantic scenes? Why? That is not okay. Red Tower Books, what are you doing? Why are you letting that be published? There is nothing that changes the plot. There's even nothing that changes the character by making her 18 or even 21 and older. If you look at the book flap inside, the first paragraph says, Solly has spent most of her life being invisible, an indentured servant, a library mold scrubber, the girl no one sees unless she is in the way. So if you're trying to make her naive, not really understanding what's going on, experiencing things for the first time when she goes out on her quest with her group of misfits, you can still do that. She's a mold scrubber in a library. She's not getting out anywhere. She's not experiencing the world. She clearly doesn't have money. She can still be naive, experiencing things for the first time, learning about the world at 21 years old and be an appropriate age. It's not okay. Why? I can't believe that I read in 2 months in a row. I can't believe I read novels where we have these underage characters in explicit romantic situations. And this one in particular has got me very, very hot, if you can't tell, because this is an adult novel. This is written for people 21 and older with explicit romance in it. It's not meant for kids to pick up. So why is the character underage? Why? Gotta calm myself. Have to calm myself down. Okay. I did go on Fable after finishing this to see if anybody else picked up on this issue or had a problem with this. I didn't see a lot of people struggling with that. There were a couple of comments about that the writing seemed juvenile. There were tons of comments for Ship of Spells. There were lots of people that were hot about Ship of Spells. They did not like how that book was written and how that world could have been so much more and it wasn't. Not a lot on this one. So if you've read this book, tell me what you think, because I'm in the minority here as far as Fable reviews go. Yeah. it was a disappointing choice. Just for the sake of time, we also had Thornhinge by T. Kingfisher, which I gave 4 stars to. It is a very short Sleeping Beauty retelling. The Enchanted Greenhouse, which I also gave 4 stars to. It is the second book in the Spell Shop series. 12 Strong, a nonfiction military book about the first soldiers who went into Afghanistan after the September 11th attacks. I think I gave this 4 or 4.5 stars too. The Malfoy book, which is a scholarly essay depicting or describing the Malfoy family and how they interacted with the plot of the Harry Potter novels. Dungeon Crawler Carl, which I gave 4.25 stars to, which is the first book in a very large sci-fi series. And then finally, the top book of the month, Exit Strategy, which is the 4th book in the Murderbot Diary series. This is a series of very short novels about a robot who has like basically hacked his own system so that he's now free from the company that created him, where he provides security in different circumstances, and he goes about in these kind of different adventures. A very dry, witty humor, and the first book was delightful, as is the Apple TV television show that they made adapted for these books. Alexander Skarsgård, who plays Murderbot, is the I mean, his performance is phenomenal. He completely imbibes the character of Murderbot. So I read books 2 and 3, wasn't as much of a fan of them because they kind of went away from the feeling of book 1. Book 1 sets up a lot of characters that you really fall in love with on top of the main character. And books 2 and 3 stay away from those characters. Book 4 goes back to that world that's established in book 1, and you really come back and get that nostalgia feeling. And it made me so, so happy to come back to that, to meet those characters again, to kind of really get more into that storyline from the original book. Books 2 and 3 do touch on the storyline from book 1. It's more just kind of in pieces. You need books 2 and 3 in order to make book 4 tie everything all together. But book 4 was just wonderful. And so that was for me the top book of the month. Did not see that coming. Normally sci-fi doesn't come anywhere close to my top reads, but yeah, Exit Strategy was fantastic. No 5-star reads out of all of those books. Not a single 5-star. How crazy is that? I mean, I had some great stuff. I had some crazy stuff and some not so great stuff. But yeah, no 5 stars this whole month. I can't believe that. I really thought Nobody's Quest was going to be a 5-star for me. That was disappointing. All right, do you need a break? You need to go get yourself a snack? You want a drink? Anything? Some popcorn? That was a lot. That was a lot of stuff. Now we're going to talk about what am I going to try to read in August. You ready? Let's start with my July Allurial pick, Dominion. I'm very excited to read this book. I did go ahead and get started on it. I'm in the middle of chapter. I'm in the middle of chapter 2 at the moment. And I kind of put it down for a second. But then I saw a booktuber that I enjoy, That Girl Reads, really, really, really sell this book. She went bananas over it. And it's got tigers. You know, I'm a huge tiger fan. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. All right. She got me hooked. She got me excited. We have In Stormy Weather, which is a romance set in Florida during hurricane season. Now would be the time to read this. It is hurricane season here in Florida. So then we have Oil and Marble. This is so unlike anything that I would ever pick up. I don't know what grabbed my attention toward it, but I'm here for it. It says on the front, a novel of Leonardo and Michelangelo, and it's set in Florence, Italy, about when Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo were, I guess, kind of competing against each other for the David Statue Commission, and what their lives were like then. This is so unlike anything that I would normally pick up. there's something about it. I'm ready for some historical fiction. I haven't had some historical fiction for a while, and I'm ready for it. And I have a lot this month. So we have Oil and Marble. We also have The Stolen Queen, which is historical fiction. It is simultaneously set. It goes back and forth between Egypt 1936 and New York City 1978, and it deals with some stolen Egyptian artifacts. Another historical one I have is Where the Sea Lavender Grows. This one I'm simultaneously able to read on Kindle Unlimited as well as Audible. It's one of the ones where if you download it on Kindle Unlimited, it automatically gives you the Audible audiobook as well. So I'll be listening mostly to this one. And I think it's one of the World Wars, I believe. I can't remember. But it's Where the Sea Lavender Grows. It's got the most gorgeous cover. Also on my Kindle, I have Magpie, which it's got those spooky, witchy vibes. I'm very happy about that. And then Summerween, which just came out. I saw one of my favorite YouTubers not really liking this. It was not for her. Even though it sounded perfect, it had the cover with all the things that I enjoy. It's set in a town that celebrates Halloween all year long. Yes. Thank you. And she wasn't a fan. She was like, it's just not hitting for me. So I went and I looked. It is available on Kindle Unlimited, and I was like, well, it's not going to hurt for me to try. I'm not paying anything for it, aside from my subscription fee. So I'm going to give it a go and see if I like it and see if it's for me. If not, then oh well, it's not for me. But it is part of, like, it's going to be kind of like the Dream Harbor series and some of those other romances where there's standalone novels all within the same town. It's supposed to have 2 more books coming out within the next 6 months. Of course, have Sea of Charms. Definitely want to finish this month. And I have the most adorable bookmark to go with it. Isn't that cute? Utterly Relax. I picked this up in Charleston. They have the greatest bookmarks in this one bookshop. They're made out of leather. I have 3 of them, I think. The Violin Maker's Secret is historical, but also I think there's a bit of fantasy in here. On any given day, there are thousands of items slowly gathering dust in the lost and found of Heathrow Airport. Unknown to anyone, hidden among the clutter is a very special object that can change the fortunes of those who possess it. A violin of rare beauty and power. Now, as if by chance, it has fallen into the hands of 3 strangers. This is definitely an ensemble type of novel with a large cast. You get to meet lots of different people, and you kind of follow around not a main character, but the violin. It reminds me very much of War Horse, where you follow the horse around with all these different people within World War I, and kind of is giving me the vibes of The Book Thief. I wonder if it's gonna be heartbreaking at the end. We'll see. And then last but not least, I do want to read Light Lark and finish this. I did go ahead and get started, but I'm on page 5. So yeah, those are my reads. Oh, but we gotta let Lemon Poppy Seed pick out something. Hold that thought, because I do have 3 choices for her. From 3 different series. I want her to pick out something for me from one of these 3 series. So these are 3 series that I've kind of gotten a bit stagnant on. The Shatter Me series, and this is book 3, Ignite Me, that I need to read next. The Reawakened series, I'm stuck in the middle of book 2, Recreated. And the Inheritance Games. This is the 2nd book in the spin-off that happens after the Inheritance Games. So I'm going to have Lemon Poppy Seed choose between these 3 books for me, and we'll see which one of these I have to read. We have Recreated with a little bar from Binky Box. We have Glorious Rivals with raspberry cookies, also from Binky Box. And Ignite Me with a blueberry donut, again from Binky Box. Come on, ma'am. I know you smelled those treats. Come on.
You gotta come around the fence.
Yes, ma'am. You have to come around the fence.
Come around the fence, ma'am.
Come on, Lemon.
Good job.
All right, come this way.
looks like we are going with Recreated. She likes to eat her special treats in privacy. All right. Thank you, Lemon. We're going to read Recreated, which I have already started. So that's pretty great. Thanks for staying in so long and watching all of this. Next month's video will not be as long because between school and everything, I will be too exhausted to read this much. But hopefully I can get through this stack going on over here. I've got some really good picks and a lot of different stuff this time, which I think is going to help. There's a lot of different genres in here, which I think is going to help me get through it. I was starting to get fantasied out. Yeah. There are also quite a few picks on here from my Her Kid TBR. I'm excited about that. I did forget one bonus book, by the way, and that is Bite by Bite. It is a nonfiction book about food. I got it last year. Honestly, don't even remember what it's about, but it has the most beautiful illustrations of ingredients and fresh foods. I'm very excited to read it. And it's time. And it's short. And it's August, where the first day of August is celebrating one of the first days of harvests. So yeah, we have to read it, right? Right. Let's get reading.